Hello everyone, thanks for logging on. Today we're going to start making our fraction flipbook. So what you will need for your lesson today are some scissors, a pencil, optional, I have some coloring utensils here. You can use markers or crayons or colored pencils, whatever you prefer. I'd like you to please start by making sure you write your name on here. Nice and neat. Great, and once you've done that, make sure that you only have one page here. See, there are several, so make sure you only have one page. And then go ahead and cut along the dotted line to reveal the first page of your fraction flipbook. If you find at any time I'm going too fast, not giving you long enough to cut or color or make your notes, please feel free just to pause the video until you can get caught up. The purpose of this fraction flipbook is for you to be able to look at all the different fractions, not all of them, but some major fractions, and tell me right away which one is larger and which one is smaller. So we're going to start with 1/2. This is where your coloring utensils come in. If you'd like to color with me, go ahead and take out any color that you'd like. I'm going to pick purple because it's my favorite and this fraction's pretty big. And I'm just going to color one of my halves purple. You might notice that I'm not coloring all the way up. If you want to, go ahead. I'm going to go back and do that once I'm off video with you, but just for now, that's enough. Okay, next, just like we did before, please make sure you only have one piece of paper, so we're only cutting one at a time. And then go ahead and cut along this dotted line here. Okay, and then you can flip up. Now before we go into anything, I'd just like to point out a couple of things. We have two parts of our fraction, right? Do you remember the name of the top part of the fraction? Do you remember the name of the bottom part of the fraction? If you said numerator for the top or denominator for the bottom, nice job. Okay. Now flipping up, moving right along. With that same colored pencil or marker or crayon, please shade 1/2 of the circle. All right, you should look to your numerator. Our numerator in this case is going to tell us how many of the pieces to shade. So how many of the pieces should we shade? 1, because our numerator says 1. So I'm going to color 1 of my 2 pieces. Great. Next, we're going to look at our next directions, which wants us to shade 2 out of 2 parts of our circle, right? So I shaded 1, now I need to shade both. Great. 2/2 or 1 whole. Remember that whenever the whole thing is shaded, it equals 1 whole. Cool. Now, another way that you can represent fractions, you can write them, right? 1/2. You can write them 2/2. You can draw pictures of them, or you could represent fractions on a number line. So here's 0. It's like having a fraction here, but none of the pieces are shaded, right? You have nothing, 0. And then over here, we have 1, meaning that the whole object is shaded, 1 whole. And between that on the number line, you have different pieces. Now, if you were to cut this in half, pretend this was just a normal box, and then split it right down the middle, right? We have 1/2 here, and we have 2 halves here. Okay, so each different piece of the number line would be represented by a tick mark, and you get to choose how you divide them. So 1/2 on the fraction number line below would be right here. I'm going to take my purple, I'm going to put a big dot right there to show me that 1/2 is right there. Once you have finished with that first page, you have another piece to cut. So make sure you only have one piece of paper. Go ahead and cut along the dotted line. And then we're ready to talk about our next fraction. What I really like about this fraction flipbook is, as you can already start to tell, that we're going to be able to see all of the fractions going down the page and easily be able to compare them. So if this fraction right here was a pizza, how many pieces did I cut it into? Well, 1, 2, right? I cut it into 2 pieces. You could have said, Miss Grace, that's easy. The denominator's 2. I know there's only 2 pieces. Okay, well now I'm going to cut it into 3 pieces, right? 1, 2, 3. This is what we call 1/3. Could you say that with me? 1/3. What do you notice about 1/2 compared to 1/3? Which one's larger? Which one's smaller? Why do you think that one's larger or smaller? Okay, well, let's go on with the next activity and we will discuss those questions afterwards. Please take out another color if you're following along with me. I'm going to pick green. So I'm going to color 1/3 here. Just enough for right now. If you'd like to color the whole box, you can pause this video or come back to it later. One half, 1/3. I'm going to fold this up along the crease. Now, I'm going to cut out my next page. Fold it up. And then I'm also going to cut out this page while I'm at it. Alright, could you please take a moment with either a pencil or whatever color you're using, and could you please shade in 1/3 of the circle and 3/3 of the circle? Now I'm going to wait. If you're not yet done shading, go ahead and pause this video so I don't spoil any answers from you. Now, if I'm looking at our fraction and we're told to shade 1/3 of the circle, well, the denominator tells us we have 3 pieces altogether, and the numerator tells me to shade 1. So I will shade 1. Next, we're told to shade 3/3 of the circle. I know I have 3 pieces altogether from the denominator, and the numerator tells me that I need to shade 3 of them. So I will listen. Now, on our last example, I wrote something here. When all of the pieces are shaded, or we have full numerator, full denominator, what does that equal? Do you remember what word I used? I used the word whole. One whole. Good. Next, we get to look at and practice how to represent this fraction on a number line. So let me point some things out to you. Here, 0. Remember, none of the pieces are shaded. I get 0 of the pie. Over here is 1. The whole thing is shaded. And these fractions here, well, they're a piece. Let me show you. So this is really 0 of my thirds. And then this would be 1 of my thirds. This would be 2 of my thirds. And over here would be 3/3. Remember? Or 1 whole. See how those ones match up? Good. Now refer back. 2/3. Let's label 2/3 on the number line. Well, oops. If you pointed right here, great job. I'm going to put a big dot there so I know that I labeled 2/3. All right, we're only going to do one more fraction today, so go ahead and flip this up. Find a coloring utensil if you're ready. And just like we've done before, I would like you to color in one of our fractions. I'm only going to go about yay high, and if you'd like to finish later, you may do so, or you can pause the video until you're finished. And then please cut the next page. Make sure you're only cutting one at a time. And then whenever you're done coloring, double check, fold it on up. Please take a second to shade 1/4 of the circle and 3/4 of the circle. Now I'm going to shade them just to make sure that you did it right. If you're still shading right now, please pause the video so I don't give you any answers. Our denominator tells us that there's 4 pieces all together. True. My numerator tells me that I only need to color one of them. I'm going to keep mixing up the ones that I shade, top, bottom, left, right, just to continue to show you that it doesn't matter how you represent it. As long as your picture is accurate, it doesn't necessarily matter which of your fractions you're shading in. All right. Now I'm going to shade 3/4 of them. The numerator tells me I need to shade 3, and my denominator tells me that there's 4 pieces all together. Awesome. And if you did that all by yourself, pat yourself on the back and tell yourself good job. Okay, next, we're moving on to that fraction number line. I'll tell you again. Right here, 0. That would be 0 out of my 4 pieces are shaded. All the way over here, 1 whole. Remember? That would be like saying 4 out of my 4 pieces are shaded. Okay. This next bar would represent 1 of my 4 shades. This one would represent 2 out of my 4. And this one, 3 out of my 4 are shaded. So please point to the part on the number line that represents 3/4. And then put a big dot there. And if you put the dot right here, Nice job. Now I'm not going to cut this one out right now because I want to ask you a couple of questions. If you're still shading or working on your number line, please feel free to pause this video. So there's a couple of questions that I asked you at the beginning. I asked you, what is happening as we work our way down? Well, I'd like to draw your attention to a couple things. At first, we have 2 pieces, and then 3, and then 4. What could you say about the number of pieces that we have as we start here and go down? Well, you should be able to say, well, Miss Grace, we have more pieces. We're cutting more pieces out of the thing. Now, if these were pizzas, let's say, we had 2 slices of pizza, we had 3 slices of pizza, and then we had 4 slices of pizza. But the size of our pizza, do you see by my hands here, isn't changing. But these numbers are changing. So what I need you to start working on telling me is why these are getting smaller as we cut more pieces. There are a couple of follow-up questions on the class page for you today. I apologize, I made a mistake. I thought we were going to be done with 3 fractions, but today we're actually doing 4 fractions. So before jumping into your textbook examples, would you please cut out underneath the page we just completed to reveal 1/6. If you'd like to take out a different coloring utensil and shade 1/6, go ahead. Technical difficulties with this crayon here. Okay, then your page should look like so. I'm going to cut 1 page out of 1/6 to reveal nothing, but it'll be less papers to flip once we do these activities on the inside. I'm going to ask that you do this page by yourself, and I will give you 1 minute of quiet camera time, or video time I should say, to participate. On this first one, you need to shade 1/6 of the circle. And over here, I'd like you to please shade 2/6 of the circle. Now I'll give you some hints for this number line since it's the first one you're doing by yourself. Remember, 0 out of the 6 pieces are shaded. 1 is 6 out of the 6 pieces are shaded. Now you have 1 minute to shade both of these and to identify 3/6 on the number line below. Good luck! If you're not yet done, feel free to pause this video, but I'll check these with you. 1/6. Our denominator tells us that there's 6 pieces in all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And my numerator tells me to shade 1 of the pieces. Great. We call this 1/6. Next, we're told to shade 2 from my numerator of the 6 pieces. 1, 2. If you could shade both of these by yourself, pat yourself on the back and tell yourself, excellent job. That's a great review from last week. Now here's the new part. 3/6 on the fraction number line below. If this is 0/6, then this fraction is 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6. Now you should have maybe put a dot or a star something right on here. If you did that, excellent job. Okay. Now that's all that we're going to do in our fraction flip books today, but I would like you to please take out textbook page 66 and work on those examples.